All right, let's speak about AI today because I believe there's just not enough AI in this world for now. And I would like to point in an actual problem related to the founders which are using AI in supply chain business. Because a lot of those founders are still believing that AI is like a magician which will come into their world and will solve everything, literally everything. This is quite adorable, by the way. But those AI believers or AI cult, as I call them, they literally do not understand how all this stuff is working. When we speak about AI integrations in supply chain, you can believe it or not, it's not about AI at all. It starts with all those little problems you have already there in your business, festering. I will try to explain at this point using a few examples. So you can remember if you had cases when your purchase order arrived late. As well, there are cases when, for example, inventory numbers never quite match what's on the shelf. And this is happening quite frequently. We're speaking about demand forecast everyone just ignores because it's simply always wrong. If you still didn't get it, I mean, the companies, they buy a pre-built solution before they even understand the actual mess they are in. Then after they receive the confirmation that nothing is working, they start to blame people, AI, government, or whoever is on the line right now. So what would be the practical path if you would ask me as an AI integrator? I don't know, really. It is specific to the case. But in general, it's embarrassingly simple. What you have to do in the first place, you have to find one supply chain problem that is actively bleeding money. The next step would be to match AI type to that problem. And I believe this is the point where I should explain. Machine learning forecasts and language models are not just different flavors of sparkling water. They do fundamentally different jobs. The most important thing to mention is that you need data, a lot of data, and not simple data. That should be a data cleaner than a surgeon's scalpel. That data should be cleaned and prepared before training an AI model. In addition, here you need one human being who actually owns the process and the workflow that people follow like it's the law. So you have to start with one thing, one problem, as I mentioned before. At this stage, you do not need some huge, all-encompassing AI strategy to begin. You're looking for one area, one workflow that actually costing you money or causing headaches. That would be how you plan inventory, or the way how you optimize delivery routes, or maybe manage supplier risk. All those are different flows in the business, so each of them needs a different specific approach, different training data, or sometimes even different teams to explore your case, your specific case. Now, let's list a few practical examples. A machine learning forecast might be great for figuring out weekly demand, helping you to avoid the problem with overstocking. Another model for route optimization could seriously cut down on fuel waste. We have as well AI NLP model. This model understands the language and can read through all of your supplier emails, flagging potential delays way faster than any human could, giving you heads up instantly. These are all individual, almost isolated integrations. And trying to find one everything including system rarely offer you the kind of specific customization you actually need to fix your particular problem. Now let's talk about the data. because data are important. See, most projects go to die a very slow and very agonizing death. If you blame AI at this stage, you got wrong because it's not about AI at all. The answer is simple. You feed it the data which was the inputs which was fragmented. Now let me again provide a few examples. You have one warehouse that has one format. Procurement has another one. And the ERP itself, we would be lucky if it has about half of a truth, maybe. Those are realistic daily operations where people create mess by working with those data. Once you standardize the data flow, or somebody maybe will standardize the data flow for you, AI itself will start looking less like a magic and more like some useful creature. That is the point. It's all related to the data and which data you feed in. Now, if you still think after all you heard that the hard part is the algorithm, then you're mistaking again. Look, the hard part isn't the AI itself. AI has nothing to do here, or the algorithm of the AI. The hard part is the adoption. Well, because people in operations, they do not wake up exciting about new scoring system. Those people, they care about whatever it adds more work to their already overflowing plate. So again, the rollout has to be small. One lane, one warehouse, or one supplier group. You can pick whatever you like. Initially, you have to prove the output before you widen everything. Now, let me explain again. AI route planning saves real money when the dispatch team finally trusted the suggestion. But that trust came after a few weeks or even months of manual comparison, fixes and patching. Then again, fixes and patching, till it not work as it's expected to work. Case studies are useful when you will look behind the curtain at the grubby mechanics. Route optimization projects actually reduce fuel and empty miles because they used live traffic, delivery windows, and vehicle limits together, not just one of them, together. Demand forecasting reduced overstock because the team stopped relying on last quarter plus a guess and actually added promotions, seasonality, and supplier lead times. The result is not just lower cost, it's fewer surprises. The one piece of the puzzle which is frequently missed is the governance. No. I'm not speaking about this fancy boardroom kind. I'm speaking about the simple questions like who is in charge when the things go sideways? Well, kind of a sideways. Who can override a model when it goes rogue? And a lot of similar questions like who checks the exceptions, who owns the bias review, who sign offs when the system suggests a truly strange supplier order. Well, a lot of questions which should be answered in front. I will come back to that because it becomes critically important when you start scaling beyond one tiny, adorable pilot project. So, the roadmap to success is not complicated, but it's discipline. And frankly, a little boring. Start with one expensive failure point. Map the data that fits it. Choose the AI method that fits that exact job. Next will be the execution. You're putting a system in production. Run a small pilot and measure something operational. Then add governance before expansion. The result of scaling a sloppy pilot is a larger, more expensive sloppy pilot. Next, what follows is the interesting stage, the one which I like to observe most. I know it sounds a bit cynical, but the stage where the founders get impatient. They want the system to feel intelligent on day one. But I personally think that this is a wrong standard. The better standard is simpler. You can count. Does it remove the work? Does it reduce mistakes? And can your team explain in plain English why it made the recommendation it made? That's it. As you can see, there is nothing complicated or difficult. So if you want more of this practical, no nonsense breakdown on how to actually get AI working in your business, you can hit that subscribe button.